Right now in American Treasures, we're diving into Florida legends of pirates and plunder.
Is this the hook right here?
That's the hook.
This is definitely something that went on someone's...
Somebody wore that. I think that it belonged to a pirate.
This ring may have belonged to King Louis XIV.
I'm pretty sure that seal is Louis XIV.
I got two gentlemen need a whip cracking lesson from you.
Jeez,
Did you hear that?
I'm Dr. Jason DeLeon.
And I'm Dr. Kirk French.
As archaeology professors, we get calls year-round from people who think they found historical objects in their backyards and attics.
I have a letter that was written by George Washington. I think I found the treasure of the Knights Templar.
So when school's out, we hit the road to answer as many calls as we can and discover what's real and what's just legend.
One thing's for sure, we'll always uncover a great story and maybe even change some history along the way.
Florida.
Well, you know what I think is weird? I went and tried to fill up my water jug, and this is what came out of the tap.
Wow.
It's apparently free here. Oh, God.
Woo, Florida. Jason and I have been hearing a lot about pirates from people in the Sunshine State. Pirates are among the defining characters here, and even the football team, the Buccaneers, goes way back to when Florida was a hub of piracy on the East Coast.
Hi, this is Captain Sam Wilson, and I think I have an interesting item for you to look at. It is a real pirate's hook, or so I think.
How about that? A pirate hook.
Is there even any evidence of pirates having hooks?
There's no evidence that I know of, but I believe that hooks were a fairly popular prosthetic during that time period. That's why we gotta go check this out. He might have the only one ever.
Captain Sam wants to find out if his prosthetic hook actually belonged to a pirate. The most famous pirate with a hook is the fictional Captain Hook. But since there's no archaeological evidence of a pirate ever having a hook, this artifact could be the first on record.
What if he answers the door and goes, "Arr"? Hey, you must be Captain Sam.
Yes, I am.
Hey, I'm Kirk.
Kirk, nice to meet you, Kirk.
Hey, good to meet you.
I'm Jason.
This is Jason.
How
Nice
you
to
doing,
meet you.
Jason?
So Kirk was asking why you're called captain, and I was telling him it's probably because you're a captain.
That's right, I am.
To verify
I'm
that.
a rescue boat captain, and when people either break down or have some kind of emergency or something, we jump on our boats and go out there and get them.
Well, we got a phone call from you about this hook that you've got.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you keep this prized possession?
Oh, you have to come this way.
We'll follow you. Oh, wow.
It's the only one I've ever seen or ever even heard of.
This is definitely something that went on someone's...
Somebody wore that back in the day.
I didn't know what to expect when he said hook, but now that I've seen it, I'm even more interested in it because it actually is a very old prosthetic limb.
I'm pretty sure that this was custom-made piece.
See copper rivets.
Now those are real old, especially these
think
up
you're
here,
right.
the way that this is done.
Yeah. It's got lots of wear on it. The rivets have been replaced time and time again. Someone wore this for a very long time for a particular purpose.
What's the connection you think this might have with pirates?
Came out of Charleston, South Carolina, which is a very, very old sailing port, and a lot of pirates came and went there.
Okay.
Captain Sam acquired this hook from an estate sale in South Carolina, in Charleston to be exact, a port city with a known pirate history.
The one who really made it famous, of course, is Captain Hook.
Captain Hook.
And Peter Pan, and everybody just assumes that,
pirates have hooks.
Pirates have hooks, and so we'll try to see what we can find out about this particular one.
Something else that we can do is compare it to other known prosthetic limbs that from different time periods, and have someone kind of talk about when this style would have been in place.
Would have been made.
Everything Sam's told us about this artifact implies it could have ties to piracy. And if we can prove that connection, it would be a one-of-a-kind historical artifact.
Thanks
a
for
lot,
coming.
Sam.
All right, Captain Sam.
Thank you.
We'll be back with some information, I hope.
We're gonna check known instances where a pirate would have had a prosthetic limb. We're also gonna look closer at the hook itself. When was it made? What was it made out of? And how was it used? If we can date this particular hook to an era when pirates would have existed, that would support Sam's argument. But before we can dive deeper into the history of this hook, we want to investigate another artifact that rings of colonial history.
Hi, Kirk and Jason. This is Lori Vaughn. I found a very interesting object. It's a ring, and it looks like it may have belonged to King Louis XIV.
I wonder why she thinks it's Louis XIV.
I don't know. We'll have to find out.
It could be Louis XIII's.
Could be Louis Anderson's.
Huey Lewis?
Louis? There's a lot of Louis out there.
There are.
Lori wants us to authenticate a ring she thinks belonged to the opulent French monarch Louis XIV, who ruled for 72 years. Now, Louis demanded that his court display their wealth and power through the display of jewelry, in particular diamonds.
Come on in, guys.
Thank you.
I've been living here in Fort Lauderdale for about 15 years, and I'm an artist and a collector.
So this was here in Fort Lauderdale that you got it? Or?
Yes, it was purchased from a gentleman who actually found a Louis XIV map in the swap shop. It turned out it was really from Louis XIV, and I would like to find out if this could possibly be an heirloom from the King's court. Of course, I would like to know if it's authentic, because down here in South Florida, although we do have numerous treasures, okay, we also have a lot of fabulous fakes. Let me unveil that for you.
Wow.
It seems like it could be some kind of stamp. I wondered.
I'm pretty sure that seal is Louis XIV's seal. Because you would have a crown and 3 fleur-de-lis inside. But
Which means what exactly?
Well,
that he uses
that's like his coat of arms or something. I mean, it's the seal that he would use.
Okay.
That identified himself.
Yes.
So it's a gold ring. It's fairly large, what you would assume for a man's finger. It has a seal like Louis XIV's seal. It also has engraving around the side where it says Versailles, 1682, Louis XIV. So that 1682 does fit between 1643 and 1715 from when he ruled.
The other thing too about the 1682 is that's the year that he moved his household to Versailles.
Wow.
So one thing we can do is try to figure out what carat it is. He wouldn't have anything less than, what was it?
18?
Like 18 karat?
Oh, I see.
There's a lot of possibilities here. This could be from his reign. It could be something immediately after, someone trying to commemorate that, or who knows what.
Okay.
So we'll give you a call when we find something out.
Fabulous.
I'm not sure what century this ring came from, but it definitely has an interesting story behind it. So we want to find out what is the history behind this artifact and where did it come from?
The guy who contacted us, Captain Sam, thinks it's a pirate hook.
Certainly a very interesting artifact.
Jeez, did you hear that? While we search for experts to help us authenticate Sam's hook,
It is a real pirate's hook, or so I think.
and Lori's ring, that seal is Louis XIV. Jason and I are going to learn about Florida's oldest industry. Today, we're going to go meet up with some folks that have a herd of cracker cattle. As anthropologists, we love immersing ourselves in local history. So that's why we're going to meet up with a local rancher who's doing her best to preserve cracker cattle, a breed of animals that were brought by the Spanish conquistadors to Florida in the 1500s. They're going to teach us how to crack a whip, and I mean, we're archaeologists after all. I mean, that's a big part of being an archaeologist is cracking a whip.
I mean, I took 2 classes on whip cracking.
Hey, guys.
Hey,
Welcome to the end of the earth.
thanks. You must be Renee.
I'm Renee.
Kirk.
Kurt.
I'm Jason.
Jason, it's nice to meet you guys.
Are these the cracker cattle that we've heard so much about?
You know, about big enough to be, because they're actually, the cracker cattle aren't a whole lot bigger than that. The cracker cattle are the very first cattle to the continent of North America. These are the Andalusian, Spanish Andalusian cattle. They go to native range pastures that commercial cattle can't thrive in. These are tough, hardy little animals.
Cracker cattle can really be considered a part of Florida's living history. These are animals that evolved here in this particular ecosystem and are adapted to the very harsh environment.
So, right here in Florida is the birthplace of the cattle industry.
Yeah.
And they deserve to be preserved, so I'm very proud to have a little small part of history here on our ranch.
It's really cool how Renee is preserving this historic breed of cattle. It's kind of like how archaeologists preserve artifacts.
Now, I think you guys might have to have a little whip cracking lesson because that's part of the whole deal.
Another thing that cattle ranchers have in common with on-screen archaeologists is that they gotta hold their own when it comes to handling a whip.
Hey, Clint.
How we doing?
I'm good. How are you doing? Clint, I got two gentlemen here that are going to need a whip cracking lesson from you. He is our state champion whip cracker, and we figured that he would probably be the best man to give you a lesson.
It's always a little intimidating when the state champion in anything is going to give you lessons.
Yeah, I think I figured it out now.
Want to give her a try?
Okay.
Kirk, you go first. Oh, I'm going to go first.
It's all in the wrist.
Okay.
Just kind of, you can pull it back and just roll it out.
All right.
See that little snap in his wrist?
That's all in your wrist.
All right, here we go.
You want a stool to stand on?
Oh, that's funny. Jason, why don't you stand right out there for inspiration?
I've had a lot of practice with it too, though.
I don't know how you do it.
I just tied it in a knot. Look at that. I made a...
It's hilarious. They don't.
Fixing made your own noose, huh?
Yeah, I'm about to hang myself out here.
It was pretty clear that Kirk was not going to crack that whip, but Clint convinced him to take another shot.
Jeez, did you hear that? You know, obviously I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but you know, I gave it my best shot, and I didn't hurt myself. All right, smart ass. You see how easy this is. There we go.
That's an idea.
Woo!
There we go. Yeah, keep doing that.
This city boy showed his true country roots and was able to make that whip go a-crackin'.
Hey, Jason!
Jason turned out to do pretty well. I don't know where he could have picked up something like this, but I was very proud of him.
Clint, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Y'all have a nice day.
Take care.
I think they really should have started you off with a baby whip.
Like a towel?
Yeah. Hanging out with Renee and Clint while laughing at Kirk was fun. But now we've got to get back to our research. So we're meeting a pirate specialist aboard a replica pirate ship. We need to find out if there are any known pirates with hooks and how they would have used a prosthetic on deck.
Hey, Kirk. Jason, how are you?
Good, good. Oh, Chris, we called you because we have this artifact we'd like you to take a look at.
My, that's fascinating. It's certainly a very interesting artifact.
The guy who contacted us, Captain Sam, tends to think that it might be a pirate hook.
I think I can help you with that. I can tell you a little bit about the history of pirates. The sailing ships started flying the world in the early 1500s after Columbus. And after that, we had piracy right away. So we know we had piracy here pretty well established by the early 1500s.
There's very little concrete evidence of a pirate ever having a hook, even though it's very plausible.
There was a pretty famous pirateer named Christopher Newport that used a hook. And he was used as a privateer by the colonial government to go down to the Caribbean and raid foreign ships and bring supplies back to the Jamestown settlement.
After talking with Chris, we know that there was a pirate that actually had a prosthetic hook for a hand. What we want to know now is how a pirate could have used this hook on a ship.
What would be the usefulness of having a hook as a prosthesis on a ship?
Well, I think a hook would have been one of the more useful things you could have had for a prosthetic on a ship. You can imagine the danger of living on shipboard with one arm. As the ship was tossing at sea, you could be thrown overboard, it would be hard to grab something and catch yourself.
Life as a pirate was dangerous, and the risk of an injury leading to an amputation was high. But being able to keep your job as a one-handed pirate meant still being able to perform your routine duties with a prosthetic.
You know, tying knots and ropes is kind of an important thing. You know, a figure-8 knot, for example, you know, you could grab a hold of a bight of rope like that. You could easily then tie a knot with that hook like that.
Okay.
So that would have been an incredibly useful thing to have, certainly.
Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's good meeting you.
It's been a pleasure.
Take care.
Nice to meet you all.
We have determined that there is a possibility that pirates could have had a hook for a hand and that it may have been a useful prosthetic on a ship.
But in order to say if this prosthetic actually belonged to a pirate, we need to figure out how this particular hook was used and when it was made.
The seal on the ring is similar to Louis XIV's.
I've never seen anything quite like it.
We promised to get Sam some answers about his hook.
This is definitely something that went on someone's...
Somebody wore that.
But right now, we're going back to Lori's house.
We have called in a graduate gemologist and antique jewelry expert, Diana Jarrett, to come give us a hand with Lori's ring.
Come this way, guys.
All
I can't wait to find out about this ring.
Well, it is interesting, I'll tell you that. I've never seen anything quite like it.
Really?
The first thing I do is give it a general examination with at least a 10-power loop, and that helps me to look at the type of construction. Examining it this way, it appears that the top part, where is the orb, was attached on after the shank was made.
Okay, is that common for that style?
You know, in those days, they did do what's called composite pieces. It's not unusual at all.
Okay.
Diana tells us that this ring is a married or composite piece, meaning it's made of a couple of different things put together. And she also highlights the fact that in true Louis XIV fashion, this particular ring is a unique piece that elites or royalty would have used. The seal on the ring is similar to Louis XIV's seal, but the ones that I saw were slightly different.
Exactly. Here are a couple of images that I brought. I thought you might just find them interesting. This is the Bourbon seal. We have the king's crown up here, we have the blue shield, and then we have the 3 fleur-de-lis. So it's very close to what we know as the family coat of arms, but it's a little bit different, isn't it?
So normally you would have a crown, a shield, and 3 fleur-de-lis inside. And this is a crown, a globe, and 3 fleur-de-lis inside.
So I would expect, if he wore a ring, he would have the seal and all the images would be completely, it wouldn't be
there would be no deviation.
Not at all.
I was also wondering if you were able to see anything of this mark inside.
Taking a look at it with that loop, you're going to see that there's a stamp that says 14 karat.
Oh, sure does. 14K.
Right.
So
did they do that?
All of the jewelry that we know of Louis XIV was 18 karat.
I see.
Diana confirms that the ring is not from the 17th century, which means it cannot be Louis XIV's ring and was probably made during the 20th century. When we're trying to narrow this down to a real date,
When I examined it, I thought to myself, perhaps as old as 40 years, 1970.
I see.
you know, I know you were hoping that it was Louis XIV.
Of course.
So, I mean, I'm just wondering, how do you feel about this news?
Well, as I said, so many things actually end up in Florida, and the place is really rift with fraud on here.
I would think that the person who made the ring didn't do it to deceive. I think it was made to honor.
I see.
And it could be, I really do.
If someone was forging this ring, obviously the shield would have been an exact replica, and it wouldn't have been stamped with 14 karat. So this leads us to believe that it was probably made to honor Louis's reign.
It has a personal, more of a personal story behind it versus a royal story, maybe, you know,
Okay.
I feel really bad for Lori, because it's obvious she was hoping the ring belonged to Louis XIV.
But as an anthropologist, I do think there's an important lesson to be learned here. Not only should you not try to buy historic artifacts because it's unethical, but also because you're probably going to get ripped off.
Diana, thank you very much for helping us out with this.
Thank you guys for getting to the bottom of it.
It was a pleasure meeting you.
I'm glad you guys enjoyed it as much as I did.
Yeah.
This has to predate 1847.
So it's even more special than I thought.
We're headed back to Captain Sam's to find out if his prosthetic hook belonged to a pirate. We learned from Chris Little that there actually was a pirate with a hook.
There was a pretty famous pirateer named Christopher Newport who used a hook.
Now we need to find out if Sam's hook was around when pirates ruled the seas. Prosthetic expert Ed Welsh is here to give us some answers.
So Ed, you deal in antiques, but mainly medical antiques, right?
Medical, dental, and optical antiques.
Okay.
Ed brought an antique prosthetic hook of his own that he's done a lot of research on, which based on the similarities will help him date Sam's hook.
Okay. Well, if you look right here at the
Very
rivets.
similar rivets, yeah.
Wow, they are.
Now, at one time, this unscrewed.
Oh, really?
Yes, like this one does.
I see.
So you could put different types of implements on?
Yes. It would hold a fork, it would hold a spoon.
Wow. It was interesting to learn that antique prosthetics unscrew to swap implements. And the construction of Ed's prosthetic is similar to Sam's, which supports the idea that his hook is authentic.
These are handmade threads. A blacksmith actually filed them. And I'm sure that this does too. Only this was used so much, the threads wore out, And on the inside, they beat it over to hold it in place. My experience tells me there's still handmade threads. The first machine-made threads of this type date 1847.
Holy cow.
So this has to predate
That's good news.
1847.
Wow. Ed tells us that Sam's Hook was produced before 1847, which means it's old enough to have been made when there were pirates in South Carolina and Florida.
If you notice right here how worn that is, whoever was attached to this used it every day as a working prosthetic. I think it was a longshoreman type hook.
Ah, it's like a stevedore.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Ed tells us that Sam's hook could have been used for something like moving cargo off of ships onto the deck. If that's true, it does have a connection to the age of sailing ships.
If you look at longshoreman hooks today, one of them is very identical to this.
Oh, wow.
It's 13 inches long.
Okay.
So to reach out and pull.
So it could have been on a ship.
Yes.
So Sam's Hook has the right age and was likely used on a ship. But so far, there are no lines of evidence that can tie this hook directly to a pirate.
I still think it's a pirate hook. And it's dated, you know, back from mid-1700s to the mid-1800s.
Sam's like, no, it'll always be a pirate hook to me. And, you know, that doesn't surprise me. The info Ed has given us supports that this hook could have been a pirate's hook. Although without more clues of its origin, we can't say for sure. But at least now we have a ton of evidence that supports Sam's claim. Is that the first time you've ever done that?
No.
Okay.
But it'd come in handy in a fight. Interesting.
A good day, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
And we know a whole lot more. And thank you very much.
It was an honor meeting you, and thanks for helping us out.
Pleasure. I'm very happy that Ed told me about my hook because it just makes it older and more valuable.
I really enjoyed this trip. We get to learn more about the history of the Sunshine State through its Floridians and the objects that are important to them.
When you retire next year, are you going to move to Florida?
I'm not coming down here as an old person.
All right, if I retire here, you can come visit me. Probably be driving around in a damn car still.
This truck?
Answering phone calls.
After our lesson, Renee got us all saddled up so we could learn how to herd the cracker cattle.
We want to just walk them nice and slow against the fence line and keep them close to the fence and not let them scatter on top of us.
Okay.
I love riding horses, and so we're out there riding around with these little cracker cows, and they're pretty cute. There's lots of little babies and little calves, and we're out there actually herding cows.
Now, Miss Renee, I'm Mexican, so if you need help, I can do some bullfighting.
I will tell you, Jason, these girls know how to use those horns. Easy, girls, easy, girls. Easy, easy. Come on.
Go that way.
So the whip is mainly used to control the cattle. You want to scare them into moving one direction or the other.
Walk on.
This is nice out here.
You gonna cry?
Okay, y'all start walking up, okay?
Because you're so happy?
You all right?
Thankfully, everyone was cooperating and getting along real well, and we were able to assist the cowboys and cowgirls today and actually wrangle these animals into their pens.
Come on, girls. Hey, cows. Hey, cows. These guys were really nice.
Wow, that was
Was that nice? They were well-behaved cows.
well, I mean,
They
when
were
you
like
call them,
Hollywood cows.
when you call them professionals like us, that's what
I
happens.
tell you, you guys are good luck charms. You guys need to come around here more often.
Just to be certain, we want to confirm the purity of the gold. The higher the number of carats, the greater the percentage of pure gold versus strengthening alloys in the ring.
Why don't we do a little bit of testing and make sure that the carat gold is 14? I think that would be interesting to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a way to do that. We have a gold tester kit here. In an area that will be hidden. I'm just going to rub it just a little bit. I made a little roughed area in the back. Now what I want to do is pull it along this stone and make sure that I get a nice, at least 1 inch. Now let's take the solution.
What is that?
This is a nitric acid.
Okay.
So we have to be very careful not to bump or anything like that. Okay, now I'm going to put a drop of the nitric acid on here. If it were not 14 karat, if it were different, the line of gold that I've left on there would completely disappear.
Okay.
But I'm looking at it, and the marks that I've made in the gold are still there. So I know, I confirm that this is a 14 karat piece.